let me elaborate today's talk to give you chance to ask. We hurry the talk. Now let us review about these sampajanyas as I have mentioned in my talk. These sampajanyas, or clear comprehension of the circumstances, is beneficial not only in spiritual strife, but it is also beneficial in worldly life. So let us study again these sampajanyas, or clear comprehension, in more detail. I've often advised in these talks, we Buddhists should have two perspectives in life. One is, since we live in the world or in the society, of course, one perspective is we must keep worldly perspective. But since we are striving for spiritual development or spiritual progress, to gain deliverance from all suffering, another perspective we must keep alive or vigilant is spiritual perspective. So a true Buddhist should have two perspectives in life. One is worldly perspective and another is spiritual perspective. The first sampajanya is Saddhaka sampajanya. Just now I have already explained the meaning, what is meant by Saddhaka. Saddhaka means beneficial. When we act in three ways. With the mind we think, with the mouth we speak, with the body we act. Mental action, manokama, verbal action, vachikama, and bodily action, kaya kama. Whenever we are about to act in these three ways, mental thoughts, verbal speech, or bodily action, Buddha said, you consider whether your action is going to be beneficial to you or whether it will be beneficial to other parties. First you consider whether the action is beneficial or not. So that is what is meant by Saddhaka samjaya. You must make effort to clearly understand whether your action, thought, speech, and bodily act is going to be beneficial for you or beneficial for other people. The second factor, Buddha said, even if you think that your action is going to be beneficial, don't act immediately. Buddha said, on the second thought, you examine whether your action is, though beneficial, whether it is suitable for the moment or not. It's the second consideration about suitability of your action. And that is the second sampajanya, clearly comprehending of suitability is Sappaya sampajanya in Pali. These two sampajanyas should be considered together. Now, for example, in worldly aspect, when a child misbehaves, it is beneficial for the parents to admonish the child or your children. Though it is beneficial, you'll have to think as a second thought. If you go and admonish in front of strangers or to children's friends, the child may get hurt and it may even hate the parent for doing that. So the time is not suitable as yet. Let the guests or the strangers or the children's friends went back, and when in private only you admonish properly. Then child will be very glad to accept and change his ways and means. But if you go in school in front of their friends or strangers, they get hurt. And there's no proper way of admonishing children. Some even use violent means and harsh language in schooling the children. And some imposing fear. And that make childhood impression. When they grow up, they become nervous and all kinds of mental disorders set in. So that is how we have to consider. To admonishing a child or children, one's children is beneficial. You must use a suitable time, place, and method. So these two should be considered in Wali life. That is why Buddha said, even if you consider that way, it is beneficial in Wali life even. Then these two samajanyas from spiritual aspect or religious aspect. While a person is in an intensive meditation retreat, like you all are doing here, intensive vipassana bhavana or inside meditation retreat, that is the best and the loftiest practice of all the wholesome actions you are doing. And during this time, if you think of doing dana or generosity, it will be a distraction. Though giving dana or generosity is beneficial, it is not suitable at this period because you committed yourself to strive for the deliverance from all samsaric suffering and practicing an intensive meditation retreat. And if you think of doing dana, you have to plan, you have to go out and buy things and do many distractions. So, though doing dana or generosity is beneficial, it is not suitable for the moment. One should keep postponing for a while until one is free from this intensive retreat. So that is how one can adjust or one should consider one's actions. Whether first consideration, Buddha said, is whether it is beneficial or not. Even if it is beneficial, Buddha said, make a second thought, whether it will be suitable for the moment or not. Though beneficial, if it is not suitable, you should keep pending for that act. As you all know, out of all our good, meritorious, skillful, profitable deeds of dana or generosity, sila or morality, bhavana or meditation, even in bhavana or meditation, samatha bhavana, concentration meditation, and vipassana bhavana, insight meditation. Insight meditation is the loftiest and the most important practice we are doing, and other activities should be kept at bay by considering these two samajanyas. Then the third samajanya is Gojara samajanya. Pali word Gojara in English is maybe translated as domain. You know, as you all know, domain of a country means one's own territory, where one has influence. Like any country has its own territories and boundaries to exercise the government's power over influencing these territories. And that is what we call domain. In other words, the place or the circumstances where you have a strong foothold, where you can firmly stand and fight or face any adversity, any hostility, any danger or any harm. If you have a stronghold, any place, that is what we call your domain, your place of security and stability. That is what we call domain. So Gojara samajanya means one should, if possible, stick to one's domain so that one can be free from hostilities, violence, afflictions, tormentations, and all kinds of dangers. One can resist and one can avoid if one is in one's stronghold or foothold. So that is the concentration we have to make regarding Gochara. And that too is very important from two aspects, both worldly aspect as well as spiritual or religious aspect. For instance, from worldly aspect, our ladies are comparatively to men. According to their nature, they are vulnerable to danger comparatively to women. So, ladies should keep to one's own domain, meaning one should stick to one's under the care of one's family, associates, friends, relatives, or whatever a protection one can within the reach, within the vicinity of these aiding aids or help. One should stick on. If you read newspaper almost every day, many young girls are abducted, abused, and some even killed. And some still missing many young girls, and the parent with no knowledge or without the knowledge of the parent, they went out to buy something and they are kidnapped and abused because they leave their domain. If they are under the family care, under the eyes of the family, relatives or friends, or even if it is in one's own native place of birth, most people know each other, and they can come to the aid of the when in danger. So, considering that, one should recognize the vulnerability of oneself when one is out of one's domain. And these are many evident in worldly life. It's tragic that many young girls, as young as 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they are abducted, killed and abused, and some still missing. No case can be revealed. So these are because they stray out of their own domain, their own stability, their own security, and went out alone. When they are vulnerable, they don't recognize that. So that is how we got to apply to safeguard oneself from such dangers, afflictions, and miseries. We must stick to our domain. To have a better or clear understanding, commentary gives the story of a quail. Quail is a very small bird. Being small, they are vulnerable to predator birds, bigger, powerful birds like kites, eagles. They prey on these small birds. So these small birds, usually they lurk under the chunk of a dry chunk of mud and the fields. One day this small bird came out of the chunk and roam about, and one predator bird swooped down and caught hold of that bird. And when he was carried away, he lamented, "Oh, since I left my domain, my place of security, this predator bird has caught hold of me. Now he's going to eat me up. I'm foolish. If I have stayed in my own place, this predator bird cannot have harmed me or cannot caught hold of me." He lamented on the way. So when the predator bird heard, being considered with his power and might, because he's very strong and powerful and bigger than this Kui. What you are saying, hey Kui, whatever you are, I can got hold of you. The Kui said, it's so, you give me a chance and let me go, and you come and catch me if you can. So he did a bird out of pride. He let it go, the bird, and the bird went back to his place on the chunk. But he stood on the chunk first, and he called the predator bird, okay, now you can come and take me if you can. And so predator bird swooped down with force. And when the bird comes down, the small bird went under the chunk and back into his own place. And the predator bird, with his force, he struck his chest with a chunk and he died. So that shows that when you are in your own place of security or foothold or stronghold, you can even fight back an enemy that is very much more powerful than you. So that is what is meant cultural and worldly aspect. We must take care of ourselves if we want to get suffering and we want to be free from miserable accidents. We must stick to our place of security, place of stability, where we can be safe. So that Sambhajanya or clear comprehension of culture or domain. Now I have talked about the worldly aspect, and now let us consider from spiritual aspect. Especially it is very important for our meditators. Meditators' domain, just now I have already mentioned also, is mindfulness, satipatthana free. To be mindful all the time. If you want to be free from the attack by our enemy, our meditator's enemy, like that enemy of the quail is a predator, but our enemy is this, and it is symbolized as Mara, the embodiment of death, because defilements will arise, and defilements are the cause of rebirth. And when one is reborn, one will grow old, sickness and death. So that is why Mara is symbolized as the Lord of Death. So this is our enemy. So to safeguard ourselves from the enemy, we must stay in our domain. And our domain is satipatthana free. So that is important from our spiritual aspect, is that cultural sambhajanya, to be in one's own domain. We are endowed with 6 special sense organs in our body. With the eye to see, with the ear to hear, with the nose to smell, with the mouth to taste, with the body for tactile sensations, and the mind we think. So we communicate with the outside world or our environment through these 6 sense organs. The world means these 6 sense organs, and the 6 sense objects that arise through these organs. With the eye we see the sight, with the ear we hear the sound, with the nose we get the smell, with the mouth we get the taste, with the body we get the tactile impressions, and with the mind we get the thoughts. So when they arise, we are conditioned instantly to identify as conventional panyati or diluted conceptualizations, like man, woman, beautiful, ugly. So with these all diluted conceptualizations we respond, and that is, the meditator is out of one's domain. If one can identify these objects as a pramata dhamma, you might have read in the books, they express as you see things as they really are. Means the meditator must observe these objects with ultimate reality or Paramattha Dhamma. So if you can observe or verify these objects with Paramattha Dhamma, then you are in your own domain, and these enemy, kilesa or defilements cannot assail you or attack you. So if you understand the working mechanism of this theme, we have many times expressed in our talks. Prasad Chakhumja Pataija Rubeja Upajati Chakhu Vinyanan Dainan Segati Paso Pasa Pachya Virana Virana Pachya Dana Dana Pachya Upadana, and the chain goes on like that. When we see with our eye, eye sensitivity, Chakhu Pasada, not this eyeball. Eyeball is just a means of the seeing. The sensitive part at the back of the eye we call Chakhu Pasada, eye sensitivity. Then there must be object. Then there must be aloka, light. Then manasikara. One must give focus, attention. Then Chakhu Vinyana, seeing consciousness arise. There's no I involved, no person involved. There's no question of good or bad. Just seeing consciousness arise on condition. It is a condition phenomena. Then no question of craving or upadana. So then you are in your own domain and you are safe and secure. You cannot be assaulted by these mental defilements or kilesa. But as just now I have said, if you verify this object as you are conditioned from time immemorial, this is a person, this is a man, this is a woman, this is a beautiful one, this is an ugly one, then all these mental defilements assail you, and you are out of your domain. Similarly, for objects that arise through other sense organs of ear, when you hear something, noting, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. If you can keep verification of Paramattha Dhamma, as we have many times explained in detail how to identify, then you are in your own domain and no defilements can assail you. But if you still linger in conventional verifications, then that is moha. If you can identify Paramattha Dhamma and you stay in Paramattha field, that is asamoha, the full sampajanya. So that is how you have to apply these sampajanya or clear comprehension in your worldly life as well as in spiritual strife, so that you'll be free from all suffering and be happy.